I'm going to be speaking on a resolution to combat piracy in the Horn of Africa region. Mr. Colano, you're right. The threat of piracy is very real and extremely frightening. But because the resolution that you authored will only cause us to prolong the very battle against piracy that we've been fighting for years, I ask you to join me on the negative. The first reason to negate is because the actors in the resolution, or the Combined Joint Task Force ships, are inefficient at completing their jobs. And this is for two reasons. First, because of frequent errors during their missions. As the New York Times explains, in May of 2013, many of these Combined Joint Task Force ships aren't able to recognize an actual pirate threat versus a regular commercial liner. Then we have incidences like what happened in 2011, where one of these very ships that we are going to fund in this resolution shot down a Thai commercial liner, destroying 11 innocent lives and millions of dollars worth of cargo. And as the article explains, the rate of the frequency of these types of errors has been up 12% in the past 5 years. When we pass this resolution, we allow those errors to continue. We fund the very organization that is not stopping piracy, but is causing a loss of capital and, most importantly, lives. That has to end. But second, because right now these ships are only inflaming the problem of piracy in the region rather than ending it. The LA Times explains in May of 2013 that due to the harsh and often brutal treatments placed by these ships and their forces onto pirates, the rate and the frequency of pirate attacks within the region has been up by 300% in the past 2 years. Senators, that's because these ships aren't able to actually deal with the problem. The pirates are actually having more revenge attacks against these ships due to the treatment rather than actually stopping the problem whatsoever. And if we pass this resolution, that continues. But if we negate, we can effectively solve the problem without using extra violence. But the primary fault of the affirmative today is that they have painted pirates as bloodthirsty villains rather than what they actually are, and that is victims of the plight of poverty. A special report by the Council on Foreign Relations explains in September of 2014 that in these regions plagued by piracy, they often starve for economic opportunities or political say. These nations are fragmented and torn apart, so that individuals don't have the opportunities that we do here in the United States. As a result, many of them are forced to turn to piracy. And here's what that means for the debate. It means that, Mr. Colano, we can shoot down as many pirates as we want with these task force ships, but nothing is going to change, because there will still be hundreds of civilians waiting in line for those jobs just so they can support their families. Essentially, this resolution is rendered ineffective, and we have to turn to better alternatives. Now, I have two ideas for that. First is by funding non-governmental organizations who can carry out economic operations to try to help stop the problem of poverty in several of these regions, or to establish business partnerships with US companies in Africa to try to allow more jobs and more stability in these regions. Because, Mr. Colano, I guarantee you, if you give a civilian an option between being a pirate or a stable factory job, they will always choose the latter. Senators, don't make the fight against piracy any longer than it has to be. Negate.